Welcome to Do You Have What It Takes to Make It in the Entertainment Industry? It's brought to you by the Youth Leaders of Tomorrow program that has been running for the last 2 years, helping Black youth achieve success by building their leadership skills. It was made possible by in support of Canadian Heritage and put together by the Youth Stars, Money, Montreal Community Cares Foundations. Now, I also want to talk to you about a very important event that is happening tomorrow. It is the business workshop. It's a free workshop again happening tomorrow. How do you start your own business? What do you need? We're going to have entrepreneur experts. We're going to have business experts. They're going to also tell you how to get the grant money. And we're going to be honoring Mr. Denberg Reed from Montreal Community Cares. It's happening tomorrow at 7 p.m. Make sure you sign up. It's free. And then also I want to speak to you guys about the West Island United rally that's happening on Saturday, June 12th. It's all about denouncing racism. We're going to have a lot of personalities, politicians, influencers, youth giving speeches about inclusivity, diversity, equity, and it's important that you just not be a bystander, but be an ally to the movement. So let's go right now. I want to introduce you to our guests that are going to be here with us today. Our first guest is a senior manager in industry growth and youth hockey development of the National Hockey League. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Brittany Wong. How you doing today, Brittany?
Hi, Malik. Good, thank you. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm excited to have you as part of this. Up next, we have manager, radio media relations at Warner Music Canada. Please welcome to the stage, Mr. Donald Robbins.
What up? Okay. Good evening, Malik.
How you doing, big man? You good?
I'm very good, thank you. Thanks for
ready
having
to
me.
get that knowledge? Ready to get that knowledge?
We're ready to do the knowledge, G.
All right. Up next, we have the one and only, the founder and CEO of Make Way Studios, Mr. Brandon Hetch. What's going on, Brandon? How you doing? You good? All right, we're gonna have Brandon in later on. But right now, there you are, Brandon. You good?
Yes. Just had a little problem there, but we're back online. Let me go up here for you.
Okay, not a problem. All right. So we're gonna hang out with you later on in the show. I also want to let people know that I want you guys to share the stream now. Call your friends, call your cousin, call your mother, call your brother. Let them know what's going on right now. It's all about knowledge. We're gonna teach you guys how to get the money, how to be successful, how to get the grants. I know you all want to get that grant money, right? And also, very important, we're going to be taking questions. So if you guys have any questions, put your questions in the comments, in the chat. Our last guest is from Factor Quebec. She is the regional representative, and she's on the National Advisory Board and member of Factor. Please welcome to the show, Siobhan Battle. Siobhan Battle, how you doing today?
Hey, good. How are you doing, Malik?
Good. I'm glad to see you, and we're excited for your presentation because I know that people want to know how to get that grant money. You ready to do your presentation, Siobhan?
For sure.
All right, it's all you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me share this so everyone can have a look-see. There we go. I think everyone can see that. Perfect. Okay. So as Malik said, I am the Factor Regional Education Coordinator for Quebec. And again, my name is Siobhan Battle. So basically what I do is I act as a local representative for Factor in the province of Quebec. I act as a local resource, so I'm here to answer questions about Factor and Factor funding and our programs. And I have a presence at a whole bunch of local events and festivals when they're happening, which a lot of them are not happening right now, as everyone is sadly aware. And I am one of many regional education coordinators. We have one in basically every province and territory throughout the country. So I wanted to talk to you and give you a little bit of background about Factor. So Factor stands for the Foundation Assisting Canadian Talent on Recordings. So basically, this organization was founded in 1982. Factor is an independent, private, not-for-profit organization. We manage funds that are both public and private. So our funding comes from Canadian Heritage through the Canadian Music Fund and through Canada's private radio broadcasters. Factor is not a government department, an arts council, or a crown corporation. Our mandate is to give grants to Canadian musicians and music companies to make and promote Canadian sound recordings and strengthen the Canadian music industry. Factor is committed to reflecting the diversity of the Canadian population in its programs and operations. We're committed to ensuring universal access to all funds and services, including all musical expressions and talent. We will also, in our work, encourage these values of diversity and inclusiveness with the broader Canadian music sector. So Factor in 1982 started out with an annual funding budget of 200,000, and most recently our budget has been at around 30 million. So we've grown quite a little bit in those years. We support independent Canadian artists and music companies. We support any language other than French. So we actually have a sister organization called Musique Action that supports those artists and industry members who are working in French. Our funding, unlike something like the Canada Council, is project-based. And in terms of who can apply, it's pretty simple. Canadian citizens, permanent residents, or those with secure certificates of Indian status. In terms of our profiles and ratings, we have basically the whole process to apply is online. And before you start any application, you have to create a couple of profiles. The first one is your user profile. So this is basically you, and anyone in a band or a group that you're working with will need their own profile. And this is your personal login to the Factor portal. You have an applicant profile. So this is for the person who is responsible for the funding from Factor. So if you're approved for funding, then you need one person who is going to be responsible for signing the funding contract with Factor. And then you need an artist profile as well. So this basically demonstrates to Factor your musical career level and helps us determine your rating system, or your rating in our system, I should say. A good tip that I can give you right off the bat is if you're thinking of applying for any of our programs for funding, start this whole process early, because you need to have these 3 profiles set up before you can even apply for any of our programs. When you create your profiles, you'll be assigned a project coordinator with Factor, and they're going to be your main point of contact throughout your entire career with Factor. I wanted to give you a bit of an overview of some of our programs. So we offer a wide range of different kinds of programs to support those in the music industry. So some of our programs are suited for artists, and some are suited for members of the industry. So that includes record labels, managers, publishers, industry members like that. And our programs that are set up for artists are set to serve artists at different stages in their careers. So if you're just starting out, we have a program for that. If you're mid-career, we've got a program for that. And if you're at the top of your game, we also have a program for that. So some of those programs include the Artist Development Program, the Juried Sound Program, and the Live Program for the Showcase component. So I know we don't have a lot of time, but I did want to give you a bit of an overview of our Artist Development Program, because this is something that you should look at if you're just starting out and you're interested in getting that first bit of funding. So this is a grant, and basically it supports anything from a sound recording to touring and showcasing to video production and marketing and promotion. Basically, you submit one demo track, MP3 demo track, and you submit a 1-page artist development plan that highlights your goals, what you want to accomplish, and how you're going to accomplish it. It's a grant of up to a maximum of $2,000, so it's not a lot of money, but it can help you do quite a bit. And you can also account for $500 in donated services. And the upcoming deadlines, there's actually a deadline tomorrow. That might be a bit short notice for some of you, but there are 3 other deadlines: August 12th, 7th, and August 12th, October 7th, and February 3rd. The applicant must complete a completion report, but other than that, in terms of paperwork, it's not heavy duty on the paperwork side. And it's competitive, but it's the chances of getting a grant are pretty high. It's 41% approval rating. So that's not bad at all. And just in general, I thought I would leave you with some tips and advice on applying. I mentioned this before, don't leave it to the last minute. Start the application process as soon as possible. Read and become familiar with the program guidelines. If you don't know, ask. I am here to answer questions, so reach out to me. If you go to our website, factor.ca, you'll find all of the contact information for my colleagues in the office in Toronto and me here. You want your application to be clear. You want to make sure that it's well written and that there are no typos or grammatical errors. So it's always a good idea to have somebody review it before you submit. You don't want to make things up because it just doesn't serve anyone. And you want to really think about your plan. Does it make sense? Is it realistic? You want to tell your story. Who are you? Where do you come from? What are your goals? What do you want to do? If someone else is writing your application for you, make sure that you read it before you submit it. And as a rule of thumb, I'd say for any project that you're working on, start tracking everything. So that means if you are spending money on equipment, if you're spending money in the studio, if you're spending money on hiring musicians, whatever the cost is, start tracking it and keeping all your receipts. And if you do submit an application and it's not awarded funding, ask for jury feedback because you're allowed to reapply the following year. And if you get jury feedback, that can really help you improve your application. So that's all I got. In terms of resources, I mentioned the Factor site. There are program guidelines on there. There are annual reports. There's a database of recipients. So if you want to see who has been awarded funding, it's all in there. And again, don't hesitate to reach out to me or anyone else at Factor if you've got questions. And that's my contact information and the Factor site. So I will stop there.
Hey, welcome back. Thank you, Siobhan. That was a great presentation. We're going to bring back our other guest. We have Donald Robbins. He's the manager of radio media relations at Warner Music Canada. We have also Brandon Hetch. He's the founder, CEO of Make Way Studios. And we have Brittany Wong, who is a senior manager, industry growth and youth hockey development of the National Hockey League. People, it's your time to ask questions. If you have any questions, add your questions in the chat. So I have many questions. So I want to start with you, Donald. I know you've been in the music game for a while. You've worked with EMI, you worked with Virgin, now you're working with Warner. And a lot of people, had the dream of getting their music on mainstream radio. What do you feel it takes today for an independent artist to get his or her music heard on mainstream radio?
That's a very good question, Malik. I think that one of the key points that needs to be done as an artist, an independent artist, is research. I think that one of the early starting points is to get the contact information of the music director and the program director of the station, and to reach out by email and to ask and request when do they schedule musical meetings for them to submit their musical song for consideration for an ad. When I say do research, I also mean for a artist not to bring a pop song to a rock station. You have to know exactly the format that you're doing and what you're producing, and try to find the best fit for your sound. For independent artists, there are people that they can hire privately to do that work for them, to do the legwork for them. And they are available for a fee as well.
Okay, yeah, definitely. And that's a good point you made about music publicists. A lot of times, if you really want to take it serious, you really have to hire a music publicist, to get your music really heard and put out there on all the radio stations. But, it costs a pretty penny, right?
It does.
Pardon me?
Yes, it does. But, the game of this whole music game is like I always consider it as a piece of pasta. You throw that piece of cooked pasta against the wall. If it sticks, it's a hit. And many times that piece of pasta is going to fall and hit the ground. So if we all had the science and the knowledge how to make hits, then we won't have this conversation here tonight.
Definitely.
We'll all be owners of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Sorry. I just had to go there. I'm sorry.
It's going to be a reoccurring thing.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I want to send a shout out to Mr. Wery La Poète, who's watching us. and let you know, Mr. Poet, that Factor is for the Anglophone artists, but Music Action is for the Francophone artists. That's to answer your question. Also, shout out to Mr. Max Mupis in the building. Mr. Simon is in the building. Quentin Reed is in the building. Brian Smith is in the building. JP Dominic is in the building. Everyone's in the building. And we had a very interesting conversation last night on Instagram. And Brittany, the National Hockey League is a big brand, and it's all about branding. And today, branding is so important for artists. Can you give us some basic branding tips that you can give to artists that can help them get their brand out there?
Yeah, I think similar to artists, athletes have their own brand as well, right? And I think in a culture of hockey that is more traditional, they always talk about what jersey you wear on the front and not the name on the back. I think we're really seeing a lot of our young players starting to evolve their own personal brands, whether it's through fashion, whether it's through causes or organizations that they support. And I think it's really affiliating yourselves with different types of organizations that really helps raise your personal brand. And I think it's also raising your personal brand is about showing who you are, what your values are, what you believe in. And I think having a personal brand and a brand as a whole is holistic. It's not just one thing. There's many different avenues that create that brand of yours, whether you're in the corporate life, a musician, an up and coming artist, an athlete. So having a brand and your own personal brand that you're comfortable with is very important.
Yeah, great answer, good answer. And another thing we spoke about last night when we were on the IG was consistency. I know, Brandon, you're big about consistency, and artists lack consistency. Let's talk about consistency, how you see it, Brandon, the importance of it.
Well, consistency, I mean, it's if you're not posting, if you're not putting yourself out there, no one's going to see you, and that's always what the end goal is right there, is you have to be out there. And if you're not going to be constantly releasing music, which is one of the hardest things to do, you have to at least be showing them that you're still active in the music scene. You're still collaborating with your community, whether it's just going to radio stations, doing interviews, anything to really show that you're still involved. So whether or not you know that many people, there's Instagram and there's social media. So you don't have to directly know people anymore. Now you could really just type in any name and hit them up. And now really, even these people who have really high amount of followers and stuff like this, you don't think they'll answer you? More than 80% of the time, I'd say they will answer you. And they're looking to get that next person in. They're looking to expand their network as well. And that's the reason why they got up there in the first place.
No doubt, no doubt.
Yeah, just to finish that thought there, when you're reaching out to somebody, the first thing they're going to do is look at your page. And if your last post was 2017, it was 5 years ago or something like this, they're going to see, okay, well, do I want to interview? Do I want to have this person in? Do they have an updated catalog? And it's harder to really gauge your I guess the person you want to interview when you don't really see much on them. So the more you have out there, the more consistent you are, the more people are going to be able to want to interact with you online as well.
Thank you.
If I can add, just to add to that, the interesting points I brought across, but it is interesting, important to creating your brand. And when you're pitching to radio station or whether it's a DSP platform, being Spotify, Google Play, you have to create a brand. And if you have an audience and you have a grown audience, it's a lot easier for these creators or editors or music directors to take you seriously, rather than not having such a, not creating such a big name or profile. So branding is increasingly important now these days.
Yeah. We have a question from Mr. Simon. Simon says, value of hiring a publicist versus putting money into social media ads. To anyone from the panel who wants to answer that question. Thank you, Simon.
I think now these days a publicist could also be a social media guru. You can do a bit of both. I think that if you can find somebody that can handle both duties, you're doubling down and getting the job done. Social media is increasingly more important than ever. It gives really an image or information about yourself as an artist to the public. I'm having a PR person. It actually is a person that could organize to put out the information out at a timely manner. So that way, not to put out too much or not to put out too little. So it's very important to have that.
Okay, awesome.
For sure.
So I just want to let people know you are watching the workshop called How to Make It in the Entertainment Business, brought to you by the Youth Leaders Program. And this program is brought to you by Youth Stars, Money Money, and Montreal Community Cares. And our panels today, we have Siobhan Battle from Factor Quebec. We have Donald Robbins from Warner Music Canada. We have Brittany Wong from the National Hockey League. And we have Mr. Branning from Makeway Studios. Si vous avez des questions, envoyez-nous vos questions en français ou anglais. If you have any questions, please send us your questions in French or English. So one of the things that I feel lacks with music artists and drives me crazy is the lack of organization. Can someone please explain to artists and people in general how important it is to be organized, especially when you're applying for grants or submitting music or to a studio? Anybody answer that?
Organization could start right from your email address. And I can't even stress how many times it's like, it's the first thing that anyone's going to look at. And if your email address is something that isn't relevant to your artist name or your career, you know, there's a red flag right there into how serious you treat yourself. And being able to log into all of your social media accounts, having control of your brand is so important. And I can't tell you how many times I started development with an artist, and the first thing that I have to do for them is get access to all their accounts, figure out how everything logs in. Everything's a mess. And this is a reality for a lot of local artists, is that they make these extra accounts and they forget, and they're not organized, and they can't have everything in one place. So organization, to have all your songs even downloaded off of your emails. As an engineer, I sometimes remove all of the bank that I have from songs of artists from a year ago, 2 years ago, and I get a bunch of calls saying, hey, the only time I ever listened to that song was on my email address. I don't have the song anymore. So I was like, okay, well, look, I'm going to re-upload it, but you have to download these things, have a folder. And I try to explain organization is have everything that you have on your computer, have it local. So if you ever need to, even on a USB stick, I would say have everything. This is the most important thing. If you meet somebody and you want to show them what you're about, without internet, you could plug in a USB stick and show them all of that.
For sure.
I think go ahead, Siobhan.
Go ahead, Brittany. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think organization as a whole, it keeps you on track. It allows you to track your progress. It also makes you accountable for what you're responsible for, whether it's your long-term goals or short-term goals, or what Brandon was saying, just small things like email addresses, and organizing your files. So I think it's extremely important to be organized in all facets of your career, or of wanting to take the next step in something, is just making sure that that everything is neat and tidy and organized.
Yes. Also, my man Jason just sent you a shout out, Brandon. He said you're awesome.
Yes, Jason, big shout out to him. He came by with his daughter to the studio. We recorded her first demos. It was awesome. And it's great from any age. You know, it doesn't have to be a rapper. A lot of people, they come up to me, do you record music other than rap? Of course I do. Anything from bands to R&B to I've done different languages, all sorts, and it's enjoying. It's any vocalist I'll always take on. I'll always give them the best quality, and everything from that to even writing for artists and stuff. I love doing it all.
Nice. Let's talk about budgeting, because I explain to artists it takes money to make money. So in your words, where should people be budgeting their money and using the money for what in their careers right now? Whether it's singing, whether it's acting, whether it's being part of a band. What do you guys suggest?
Well, don't take it because I'm just a music engineer that I'll say recording in the studio is probably the best thing you could do. But what I do say though is this is the best way actually to develop your craft. To me, I say that the studio is like the gym for music. This is how you flex your music muscle. This is how you hear yourself back. And if you could hear yourself back, find all your mistakes and go back and improve on it, then I think that you're doing the best thing for your career before stepping out into the game.
And Siobhan, in terms of, there's different levels of getting grants at Factor, right? for newer artists starting out, do you guys look at social media numbers? Like how do you decide how to choose an artist? Is it based on the quality, or is it based on his marketing? Is it based on his brand, his image?
Great question. So it depends on the program. But if artists are just starting out, I'd recommend that they look at the artist development program. I gave sort of a very quick highlight of what that's all about. And for that, you don't have to have an established career, because the idea is that this is a program for artists who are just starting out. But, you know, coming back to the point about organization, that's really key. And not only is it keeping organized, but it's also planning. So while you don't have to submit a full-fledged marketing plan or a full budget or anything like that, when you're asked to submit your artist development plan, you have to have an idea as to what you want to do. So where are you at? What have you done? If you haven't done anything, if you haven't released anything, if you haven't gone on tour or anything, that's fine. As long as you list out what it is that you want to do, what are your goals and why, then that's really important. So that's really at that stage, that's with the jury. And this is a juried program. So it goes to a bunch of people who evaluate it and recommend it or not for funding. So that's really important, is having a clear plan in terms of what it is that you want to do it and how are you going to do it.
Okay. I just want to remind people, you are watching the workshop conference called How Do You Make It in the Entertainment Industry? We have industry experts with us right now. And if you have questions, si vous avez des questions, put it in the chat. Envoyez-nous vos questions. Tout le monde veut vous aider avec vos questions. And we have a question right now from Mr. Wery Lapoette. How to prepare yourself before going in studio? Who wants to answer that one?
Well, for me, the best thing that I would say, it depends where you are in your career. If you're really starting out and you're trying to make your first couple songs, I wouldn't say stress about getting all the track outs, this and that. If you still just want to hear your voice, and as you know, cliche as it might sound, these YouTube beats, if you're just starting out, you're not trying to invest a whole bunch of money, you just need to hear what you sound like to find your sound on a beat. Sometimes just finding a YouTube beat, writing on it and bringing that to the studio could be just enough. But this is very starter. Once you start getting further into your career, you don't want beats that thousands of people have already used. You want to start developing your own sound and your own brand. It also comes into how you present yourself vocally. So you could either find a producer online, like we say, we go to Instagram, or if you know somebody locally, and then coming with that beat, coming with the track out files. And for anyone who doesn't know what track outs is, that's the individual sections of a song. So the kick, the guitar, the piano, it's everything separated. So this way that your engineer could have the most flexibility when he's mixing your song. But being prepared, so this way you're not spending too much time recording, is definitely the best thing. If you're there and you're trying to rehearse as you're recording it, you should have done a step before, because studio time is money. And in these beginning steps, this is one of the hardest things to overcome for most people, is the budgeting.
Nice. I have a question for you, Brittany Wong. You know, making it in the National Hockey League is not easy, and I compare it to making it to the big stage of the entertainment industry. How important is practicing your craft and shaping your craft in order to make it to the next level?
I think it's extremely important. Kind of similar to what Brandon said about the studio is the gym. Is that's where you get to practice your craft. That's where you get to try different skills, test out new songs that you're recording or want to practice. And it's there where you can really see, yeah, this is working for me. No, this is not working for me. How do I tinker? How do I improve? So it's extremely important. And I think it's one of those things where practicing is, it may not seem like you're making a lot of progress, but when you do get a chance to be on that stage, whether it's on the ice or in front of a crowd of thousands of people getting to sing, it's those times where you'll look back at practicing and know that all your hard work is paying off, because that's your moment and you made it.
Okay, nice. We have an interesting question from Mr. Max Mupiz. Do you all think that the role of an A&R is still important in today's game? If so, why?
I could answer that. Yes, A&R's role is still very important. Their role is to look out for new talent and to sign talent to record labels, both indie and majors. I know that maybe some people may be skeptical about A&R people, because some figure, well, they've been in the game for the last 20, 30 years. Well, I can actually tell you within the labels, Warner specifically, we've hired within the last 2 years new, young, fresh A&R representatives who are constantly looking for talent. I know Universal just recently had Cardinal Official as the VP of A&R for Canada, and also Universal has an A&R rep based in Quebec. So A&R roles are going to be increasingly important, and I think the labels are also realizing the shift of the musical direction now with the youth are going to. So yeah, very important.
Okay, here's another question for you guys. How does an artist well sculptured in the game build more awareness about themselves if their genre isn't popular in Quebec? That's a good question. That's by Zachary Khalil. Who wants to answer that question?
I can jump in there. Don't focus on Quebec. So we've had a lot of artists, for instance, who I'll give you an example. One artist a few years ago who's EDM artist based in Montreal, and they weren't getting any traction really in Quebec at all, or for the rest of Canada, to be perfectly honest. But they had a huge following in Germany. So they actually planned a whole tour in Germany and in Europe and focused on feeding, the fans what they wanted there and focused a lot of their marketing effort there. And then they ended up touring the States and Canada as a result because they made it big in Germany. So focus on the area, I would say that where your fans are, basically.
Just to add, I just want to add to that because Siobhan made an excellent point. But this is the new technology that we're living in today with the platform DSPs. It's radio that we can submit our music to. If you put your music on a social on any of the DSPs and it catches fire in Spain, well, that's where you shift your focus to. And so musically, the global market is very global now and not really regional specific. So you could be an artist from Montreal, but your fan base could be in Japan. This is the new reality of the music business now these days.
Nice.
The power of social media.
That's
exactly.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We have another question here by MTXL. When starting out, should the artist focus his marketing towards a particular group or profile? Anyone can answer that?
I would jump in and say it's really that's tied into your branding. So find out who are the people who are into your music and then focus on reaching them. That's a huge part of one of our programs. You have to submit a marketing plan, and that's a huge part of your marketing plan is knowing who your audience is and then how to reach them. Where are they hanging out online? What do they buy? What blogs do they read? All that kind of thing.
Okay, perfect. People, you are watching How to Make It in the Entertainment Business. If you know an artist right now that needs this type of game, I need you to call them right now, tag them, tell them to come and listen, because right now we're heating up. And I want to get back to the comments about A&Rs, because you mentioned that Warner has A&Rs, Cardinal Official is not a VP of Universal. How do people get their music into the hands of A&Rs today?
Email, reach out. I think a lot of artists today expect that, okay, I put out great music and sit back and wait for the phone to ring. Well, there's millions of artists that are doing that right now. So your phone ain't going to be ringing unless you're getting million streams a day. So you have to be proactive. You have to be aggressive. You have to go out there and commute and network. Networking is very important to do today. Yeah. The thing about social media is people network by DMing. Well, maybe sending an email to an executive at a label and promoting it to the A&R department is the same thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. Network is the key. Networking is the key. We got a question from Mr. Quentin Reed. What do you think needs to be changed in the MTL music scene in exposing artists? By Quentin Reed. Who wants to answer that?
Definitely talk on that one. When I think about the comparison between Montreal and other places like Atlanta or Florida, especially if we're talking about the English scene, it's platforms. It's having these places that bring up the next generation of artists, whether it's an actual radio station, like they have Hot 97, and they're constantly having artists on there, and these are big pulls to bring up these artists as big platforms that help people get on there. And you look at the A-list celebrities that also live in Atlanta and stuff like this and out in the States, is they always help people pull up the next generation. They're always bringing up the next people. So what could change in Montreal? I mean, more famous people. That's a hard thing to say, but we can have more English platforms that are helping bring artists on and exposing them to their networks. Because the biggest thing that's hard for an artist when he's starting off is, how do I reach outside of my own profile? How do I reach outside of my own Facebook friend group, let's say? And this is where the reality comes, is you have to go to these different places. And, if we have more platforms, which I am seeing a lot come up in this past year, a lot of new podcasts, radio shows are coming up, and these are the things that you have to support. These are the things that are going to help uplift artists.
I think you made a great, important point there about building your fan base. And Brittany, I know in the National Hockey League, one of the things that you work on is industry growth. And what does the National Hockey League do nowadays to try to build their content and their fan base on an international level? What kind of tips and what kind of things are they doing?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Malik. When we're looking to build our fans, it's really, how are we becoming relevant to a broader audience? We recognize that you can be a hockey fan by not playing the game. I think some people have that misconception where you have to have a hand and stick and you have to be able to skate to be able to be a fan of the game. Similar to what we talked about yesterday, is how are we diversifying ourselves? How are we bringing more culture into the game, video games? At many of our tentpole events that we host throughout the years, we're starting to bring in musicians to sing before the game, to play a concert during the intermission. It's really, we're trying to appeal to a much broader audience than our traditional hockey fans, and trying to connect to others beyond just the actual athleticism of the game of hockey.
And I'm glad you made that point, people. Every major city in Montreal has a major hockey team or a football team. Reach out to the head of marketing and let them know you want to perform during the National Hockey League game, or during a CFL game, or during the Raptors game. You never know, right?
I had one of my clients recently. She sang for the LA Clippers. And it was only after she submitted, when she gave her bio, that she said she's from Montreal. They were like, "Oh, we completely forgot you're not even local. You're from Canada." But she still got the part. She sang, and because everything's online now, we were able to still give them a show, and it was somebody that they didn't even know where we were from.
Wow, that's amazing. Here's a question for you, Donald. This is from History Makers. Are there any initiatives from Warner to leverage local talent in Montreal hip hop scene? Is there any headhunter A&R looking for artists?
Yeah, we have A&R team that's actually looking for constantly new product. I would suggest submit it. Visit our Warner Music Canada website. Submit your submission of your songs by an email, or you can even send me an email with the submission of your single, and I can forward it to the A&R team.
Awesome. We have another question from Mr. JP Dominic. How can you set up components of feasibility analysis?
I'm not sure what the...
Is that like a SWOT analysis? You want to know about how to look at your plan or your business and see how feasible it is?
So JP, resend us that question. Make it more English for us. More English. All right. Here's a question from Mr. Brian Smith. Can you apply for a factor grant if you're under 12 years old?
Yes, you can, but you have to have a parent or guardian sign off on all of the official paperwork.
Okay, cool. I want to let people know that they are watching What Does It Take to Make It in the Entertainment Industry. With us today, we have Brittany Wong from the National Hockey League. We have Donna Robbins from Warner Music. We have Siobhan Battle from Factor Quebec. And we have Brandon Hetch from Make Way Studios. Envoyez nous vos questions. Send us your questions. In terms of really taking your craft to the next level, other than hard work, other than branding, other than marketing, are there any other tips that you can give people that we're not really thinking about?
I would definitely suggest a team. So for our programs, you don't have to have a manager and a publicist or a publisher or a booker or a tour manager to apply. You don't have to have all that in place. it helps. Even if you don't have those formal relationships, that's okay, but you need help. So whether it's your friend or your mom or your cousin or whoever, if you've got help, that's really key, because it's kind of a paradox now, I think, with a lot of independent artists. Not only do you have to be an artist, but you also have to be your own manager and your promoter and your publicist and all of that. So you need help. You need people to support you, and people to work with that you see eye to eye on. And, Brendan, even, I would imagine, a producer and engineer, you need these people to help you with your projects.
So at what point in someone's career does someone really need a manager? Because I have artists that haven't put any songs out and they want a manager right away. But realistically, when do you feel an artist should seek a manager?
I think the simplest question to that is when you start making money. That's the way you do it. I mean, if you're going to start getting a manager and you're not making any money, then you're pretty much a show off, right? Then it's not. So when you start generating revenue that you can actually pay staff, then it makes sense.
That's a good one.
But there's also today's day, the definition of what a manager even is.
Yeah.
Has changed a lot, from the manager being someone who's getting paid off of your profits to the manager being someone who's actually investing completely or entirely into the artist, which is what I see a lot, actually. Anytime I really see a manager come by, he's the one who's investing because he believes in a certain artist.
Yeah.
And I feel that's almost the role that's become.
I'm going to quote a manager friend of mine. I asked her this question a couple of years ago, and I said, so, this is a question I get all the time. What's the best way to contact, find, entice a manager? And she said, when the manager seeks you out.
That's
so that's the other thing. You'll need a manager when the manager contacts you.
Yeah. I think this might be a question for you, Siobhan. How about EPKs for artists? Is social media profiles enough, or EPKs a must? I guess it's for everybody. Everyone can answer that question.
Yeah, in my view, EPKs are helpful for sure, but if you don't have one, it's not do or die, I don't think.
I have to agree.
Sure. It's not the worst. It definitely helps when you're pitching yourself out to certain media stations, because they want to know about much information about you without having to scroll through your Instagram and all your profiles. And for anyone who doesn't know, an EPK is an electronic press kit. So this is a display of all of your social medias, all the shows you've done. It's almost like a CV for yourself as an artist, or in whatever brand you're really doing.
And I mean, you can also edit. I mean, simply in some media forms as clippings as well. So print interviews you've done, anything like that. And all of that is also important when you're pitching your songs to platforms, to DSP creators, and also to radio directors, music directors, so that you're active as an artist. You're not just sitting back and making music in your basement.
Yeah. I have a question here from Mr. Brian Smith. What is publishing? I often hear a lot of artists get a bad deal because they do not own their own publishing. Who wants to answer that one?
Publishing is another division of the music industry, which is based on an artist's works, creative works, writings, song compositions. So you have to, as an artist, be equally knowledgeable about that side of the business as well. It's very, very important, because a lot of artists are not very educated on that aspect of the business. And it's one, and in some cases, I often say that part of the business is that moneymaker that a lot of people don't realize sits there. Yeah. But if you do your homework and you do things properly, it's something that you really have to take seriously.
Yeah, it's like what's called a music business, but publishing is a business on its own.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, we have this is another interesting question. This is from Quentin Reed. What would your advice be for people who aspire to become an A&R rep?
Well, the first thing, most A&R reps tend to see a lot of shows. Right now, unfortunately, with the pandemic, we have not seen a lot of live showcases. But A&R role is to look and find out talent, new talent for the indie label or the major label that A&R rep is for. So in the sports terms, they're the scouts, for example.
Okay. Now, part of our conversation yesterday, Brittany and Brandon, and Brittany, you mentioned that how you got into the National Hockey League is you did an internship and you did some volunteering. So talk to us about the importance of volunteering and doing internships at your favorite label or your favorite hockey establishment in order to work your way up the ladder. How important is that?
I think it's extremely important. Overall, having experience is very important, whether it's whatever industry or career that you want to have, whether you want to be a rep, if you want to be a singer, getting that experience, getting a chance to learn in real time, to have that, to be able to meet and network people within those opportunities is really important. I know Donald mentioned it a little bit earlier, is building your network. It's never too early to build your own network. It's never too early to be able to take on as many different type of volunteer roles. You never know who you're going to meet at those roles, and when you are interviewing or when it is the right time for you to be able to sing and perform, you never know who your networks will be and how that experience will help you and prepare you for that moment. So it's extremely important. And I think one thing too, just from my past experience, is it was my goal to always work in hockey, but what I learned, what I can say I learned now, but maybe not at the time, is that if you do want to sing, or if you do want to be like Brandon one day, or if you want to be like Donald one day and work in the PR world or the PR side of that, is you don't have to start in music. You could start at a consumer products brand. You could start at any other different brand. You can start in hockey to get into music. It's the skills and the experience that you acquire no matter where you are that will get you and propel you to the industry that you want. So I just want to share that learning that I learned very early on, is that just building as much experience as possible will really help you be prepared for that next step when the time is right.
Okay. Thank you. That was great advice. Anyone else want to chime in on that?
I agree 100%. And coming back to what Donald said about networking, that old saying about it's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, I think it's kind of both. You got to know some stuff too, but who you know is really important. And that doesn't mean it has to be, A-list stars or managers or label reps. I will say every single job I've had has been through someone I've known. Point final. That's it.
The thing about it is, a lot of people also want to know if there's also associations that are out there for people, for different groups, for Indigenous groups, for people of color. There are different groups that are based in this country to help people, guide them along the way, such as advances out there. That's for people of color for the country. So go out, do networking, go search. But there's ample of information available for everyone.
And actually, I'll add to that as well. There's tons of free events. There were free events pre-pandemic, and I would say even more free virtual events where you can learn about things like publishing. You can learn this stuff, and that's also really valuable. Try and learn as much as you can.
And I want to touch on another
one that sorry to cut you off. Yeah, great one. Just to add to that, another great new social media that came out was Clubhouse, which is very much about sharing information, and everybody is on the same wave now, where they're more than happy to share information with you, and it's creating these groups and everything. So for anyone who hasn't heard, it's Clubhouse. You do need to have an invitation, but by now so many people are on it. I'm sure you know a couple people who have the app. Super helpful. When I first came on, when I first started listening to this, I would go into certain groups, and you find these people in the music industry. You find people, it's exactly like this. You find panels of people talking, and they're live talking, and it's really them. It's not fake profiles. You know it's actually the person who's there, which is great because we know how confusing things get with Instagram and all this. So the genuine pull from Clubhouse, definitely amazing app if you're looking to learn, and if you really want to put in the time to learn as well.
Yeah, and I also want to mention to people that we will be giving out some 2 NHL National Hockey League jerseys. You just have to fill out the SurveyMonkey survey, filled out, and we'll put your name in a draw to win 2 signed National Hockey League jerseys. So people, do it right now. Brian, if you can add the link in the chat, it would be greatly appreciated. Just add the SurveyMonkey link in the chat for us, Brian, so we can give away those beautiful jerseys. And don't forget, tomorrow, people, we do have a business conference workshop, same time, same place. We're giving out free information on how to build your business, make money, and get the grant money. We have our entrepreneur experts and also our entrepreneur business people that will be live with us tomorrow at 7 p.m., hosted by the financial literacy guru, Mr. Brian Smith. And I like the fact that you touched on Clubhouse, but another platform where you can make a lot of business contacts that a lot of people are sleeping on, especially in like artists, is LinkedIn. And I want one of you guys to touch on the importance of having a profile on LinkedIn and connecting with people in the industry.
So I think LinkedIn, they reference it as almost the professional Facebook. So it's a platform that allows individuals to be able to connect with those across all different industries. It allows you to have the opportunity to see potential different job postings, to see different events that are going on within those specific organizations, and it allows you to continue to foster those connections. So I know for myself, after this event tonight, I'm going to be adding Brandon, Donovan, and Siobhan, and Malik, and continuing the relationships. And it's a great way. I know the audience we're speaking to this evening is more in the high school, getting to the university. My suggestion and advice would be to get on LinkedIn now, start building your own network, and as you continue to progress in your careers and through your experience, it will come in handy.
Okay, cool. We have a question here. That was some good advice, Brittany Wong. Appreciate that.
Oh, thank you.
Matt Black wants to know, what are the panel's views on the platform Taxi?
I have not heard of it.
Yeah. Myself included, no.
No one's heard of
Nothing.
Taxi?
No.
Okay. Matt, we don't know what Taxi is. And I just want to let people know.
There are a lot of new networking apps that are coming up very often. I get targeted a lot in these through Facebook because I guess I'm in the music game there, so they're always trying to get me in these things. But I see these apps a lot of times, like Vamper, and there's a lot of these like smaller ones that try to get artists to help communicate. I would say, look, if you could find an app and you could see and build a good community there, and especially if you could thrive because it is smaller, go for it. If you see though that it's not effective after you put a lot of time into it, look at one of these other apps that are available for you.
Mm-hmm. And I would just add to that, I completely agree when we were talking about, how do you reach the audience that you want to reach, or how do you find your audience? Depending on the genre of music that you're working in, I know a lot of EDM artists and DJs are on Twitch now, which started out as a gaming platform. So, keep your eyes open for that kind of stuff, because there's a lot of opportunity that just seems to blow up out of nowhere.
Yeah, actually, Twitch is really great. The things I see the DJs doing using that technology, it's incredible. And I'm wondering, if that's going to continue once the pandemic slows down. But I mean, the graphics and what the DJs are doing, and you can even do like live concerts on there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think artists, look into Twitch, because also Twitch will remunerate you for you bringing your fans to the table.
For sure. And from my experience of going up into the north and working in the elementary and high school, Twitch and TikTok. That's what it is. And I don't think it has anything to do with the pandemic. These are the two networks right now. These are the top ones, and especially within the youth. And I'll tell you, more than half of my people that I work with that are 25 plus, they don't do TikTok. They think TikTok is just for dancing kids. It's really not. If you could look past that and understand the power that TikTok now has, you could really advance your career as well. Even Instagram has started adapting to their styles, such as using reels and things like this. These are extremely important, and they're bringing back the vertical video, which definitely it's getting popular. And it's all they watch. It's all I watch. I was always there in the classes and stuff. And if everyone's someone on their phone or something, it's either TikTok or Twitch.
And that's
these apps are pretty popular when these companies actually house people in Toronto. When you have Twitch offices in Toronto and you have these people actively working in terms of making the brand bigger. So yes, these are two apps that are definitely strong.
And I think it's a common theme throughout this discussion has been about building your brand. I think those are two excellent platforms to put yourself out there, to build your brand, to be visible. And I think, I think it's a great way to be able to do that.
Nice. So listen, we need to wrap up because it's almost 8 o'clock. So any final last words? We'll start with Siobhan Battle from Factor Quebec. Any last words? Any last inspirational words for the people?
I know a lot of people get discouraged if they apply to Factor and they don't get they don't get the funding off the first round. Be persistent, keep at it, keep improving, and come back and apply again. And I'd say that also applies to everything that you do. If at first you don't succeed, try again.
Okay. Brittany Wong from the National Hockey League.
First of all, thank you for having me. And I would say that just to the audience this evening, that no path is linear. The way Brandon made it, the way Donald made it, the way Malik and Siobhan, the way I made it, may be a different way that you make it. And to Siobhan's point, is don't be discouraged if you fail along the way. Those moments of failure or disappointment are only going to help you, propel you to be more successful. So you will get there through hard work and persistence, and don't be discouraged if it doesn't work out the first time.
Thank you. Mr. Brandon from Make Way Studios.
I would have to say there's really, in this game, you could see a lot of people make it their certain ways, but there is no real recipe. There's only smart moves. And the best way to find out what these smart moves are is link up with somebody who has done it, look at the people who have done it, and try to find out a way to either replicate or mimic or do something that's similar to the people who have made it, that are high up in the industry. They're there for a reason. They have huge teams around them. And if you're able to do things yourself, rather than pay a whole team, learn. The best thing, that's the biggest way that I've always improved my brand, that I was able to move as fast as I was able to move, was because I learned how to use Photoshop. I learned how to use Premiere. I learned how to do everything myself, from my website to my logo to my business cards, my t-shirts. I figured out every single step, how to do it myself, so that I don't have to pay people all along the way. And eventually, when you get to a certain point, when you get comfortable, when you know that these brands are actually generating income, then you could start hiring people to actually start taking these things to take care of these things for you. So anything you can do is just keep building up and learn. Knowledge is definitely power, and knowledge will save you money.
And Donald Robbins from Warner Music.
Well, listening to the comments from our esteemed panelists here on this panel, getting the information, you stars should be commended for putting out this free information hour for people to get information. And this is where, artists, unsigned independent artists, this is where you get this chunk of information. Start from there. Start networking. LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever you can to reach. I often tell artists, established and upcoming, business is a marathon, not a sprint. So don't look for a turnaround tomorrow in one 24-hour window. So if you're in for a marathon, be ready for a long haul. That's the way it has to work.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And we're getting a lot of great comments. People are very, very happy. I also want to send a shout out to Money Brian Smith, who helped put this together. Shout out to also Montreal Community Cares, who was part of this project. I also want to shout out U-Stars and the team. And I want to shout out all the youth who participated in the Youth Leaders program. It was a great program, a great initiative. And remember, people, tomorrow night at 7 p.m., we have our business conference. Jesse, I want you to put that flyer up again. Yes, our business conference. If you want to learn how to get the money, how to get that grant money, I need you guys to tune in tomorrow at 7 p.m. And also, we are doing our West Island rally called West Island United, Denouncing Racism on June 12th. It's brought to you by U-Stars and Overture the Arts. If you're about inclusivity, diversity, equity, and you want to hear great inspirational speeches, and you want to educate yourself on different things, on racism and inclusivity and diversity, you need to be at this event. It's a family event. It's open to all. We're going to have music, and we're going to have speeches, and I'm inviting you guys to come down and check it out June 12th. And also, I'll let people know, as you know, I do a segment on Virgin Radio called New Music Friday every Friday morning at 6:40 a.m. I'm going to give you guys opportunity right now. I just click that button. Send me those hits. Send me those hits, people. If you can send me those hits, I'm going to give you an opportunity to play your music on radio, but I only want hits. I only need hits, people. Donald, I know you're smiling. You understand, Donald. I had a great time, though. I had a great time. And I want to also thank our engineer, the man behind the scenes, Mr. Jesse Ostroff, for doing a great job. And thank you for everyone for watching. Please share this, tag a friend. Let's spread knowledge for everyone, and let's blow up Montreal. Let's blow this up. All right. Good night, people.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Malik. Take care.
Thank you. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Go Habs, go.